And what Judy and I are going to talk about today, and I'm going to pick her brain because she is the expert when it comes to culture, building teams, building just amazing, engaged teams within our businesses, both large and small. She's the person. I mean, she blows me away. So, Judy, if we can, let's kind of dive right in, and let me ask you a question. What the heck is culture?
Well, I'm going to throw it right back at you, and then we're going to go into it if we can. I'd like everybody to put one word in the chat box that they think describes culture. And this is fun to do because Jamey's right on with it. It's just one of those nebulous, vague words.
Tiffany says community. Holly says
Yeah.
actions, behaviors.
Buy-in.
Buy-in. Okay.
Teamwork, attitudes, yeah, norms, beliefs, attitude, beliefs in team and company values. Yes, absolutely. These are all words that are descriptive. But you know, it's interesting when I work with teams, a lot of business owners don't even realize what culture is, let alone what the signs and symptoms of a positive culture versus, I'm just going to use negative culture. And so what we talk about, when I talk about culture, I talk about gaps. And here's why. Because business owners often don't think they have a culture problem. Because when you talk to the business owners, that's what they tell you. Yet they're coming to others, to us, or to coaches and saying, something doesn't feel right. I just can't delegate. And which implies maybe lack of trust. I hold on to work. I'm kind of afraid to delegate. Maybe some of your employees, when it gets to be 4:45, they're getting ready to run out the door at 5. Retention. I've experienced where, especially lately, people come in, they stay for a year or two and they're gone. And so what employers often say to me is, and business owners, you know, they say, well, why would I want to develop them and mentor them if they're just going to leave in a year or two? And so that's a part of the culture as well. So what happens is there's this disconnect. And what it really boils down to is everyone in life needs a purpose. Everyone needs to have their purpose connected to a business purpose. And so what do you do with it? You know, and oftentimes and not to mention core values and those things, but oftentimes you can sense that people are disengaged and they're just not completely connected to where the business is going.
So if you had to kind of define like this idea of culture when we're talking about it, how would you define it just in a simple word or phrase when we talk about, you know, someone's culture?
It's where people are feeling connected. Well, what does that mean? They're engaged. What does that mean? So it means that several things. You don't have to micromanage because people are accountable, responsible, and dependable for the tasks, the responsibilities that you need to run the business. So the culture embeds the values and the behaviors that you wish for your business, but then your employees demonstrate it. They model it. They live it. And so they then come to work and are happy and are engaged and talking and carrying the values. But how do you get there? That's the challenge that so many people have.
Yes, and understanding that there is a problem is a huge challenge. And you know, you've said that if you don't even know there's a problem, you're not going to spend any time addressing it. And you know, obviously, we at some point, I mean, if you're small, that's fine. But if you have employees, you have a culture of your business. I just wrote down this line as you were talking. You know, culture is about connection and engagement of your staff for their reasons, right? Their purpose that's aligned with yours and the company's. When those are aligned with another, you have a culture. When they're not aligned or not defined or not even in something, then you are going to have, like you said, a negative culture or a lack thereof. Is that accurate?
Most businesses have core values, but we wrap our arms around those core values, and we expect people to live by those core values and demonstrate them, but they don't. And why is that? Do your core values live on the wall? Do they live in a book? Do they have action words? And so core values, let's face it, the biggest problem that we run into with culture as business owners is the behavioral component. We have behavioral expectations that we expect our employees to live by, don't we?
What are the most common signs or symptoms that you see? And I'm seeing the people that are on this call right now, mostly your smaller practice owners, certainly probably under 2 million, million and a half or something like that. What is the most common symptoms and signs that they could recognize that you've seen that would determine that we have a culture problem?
Many employers, because of the retention or the recruitment issue, tolerate employees with ongoing performance issues and don't do anything about it.
Okay. Now, if they're afraid to have difficult conversations, is that because they haven't been trained to? Because even if you have a good culture, at least in my experience, people could have really good cultures, but still having conversations with people, I mean, it's just a part of it. Nobody's perfect,
Yeah.
and things are going to happen. Is that more of a training to how to create and develop the culture, or is that a symptom in and of itself?
We are conditioned to have all the right answers, tell people what to do, we expect them to do it, but we don't understand that conversations are made of words that really can create a trouble when we are going into a difficult situation and you are triggered by, I got to get this done, this person is not doing this right. And what that does is it becomes more of a one-sided conversation, not a transformational conversation that helps the employee be accountable for what you want them to be. And that's the hard part. Most of us aren't trained like that.
Right. And the one thing I've noticed working with hundreds and hundreds of practice owners over the years is we make the mistake of thinking people operate like we do. Like we stay
100%.
late, we come in early, we do what it takes, we're engaging,
Yep.
we notice things. And like, my eye opening was, I hired people. Why do I need to train them? They're just like me. Everyone thinks like me, in my own little bubble world. And we realize that no, they don't. They need guidance. They need leadership. They need training. They need accountability.
Yeah.
So I can certainly understand where you're coming from. What's your thoughts around, and I'm going to frame this, what's your thoughts around confusion? Because one of the things that I have seen when I've done some leadership training for staffs, and some staff is on here so they know, is that a lot of the team is actually confused about what's expected and how do we measure my success in their particular role.
Here's it. I back all the way up to when you are recruiting and you are onboarding people, how clear are you on expectations of that employee to be successful in that position? Here's what I mean. Everyone has jobs, but everyone has job descriptions. Those are things that list the tasks, but everyone knows those don't really do us any, they don't do us any good, because what we are really challenged with people in our business is the attitudes, which is what you guys listed in the first part of this conversation, the attitudes and the behavioral expectations that really get in the way. Those are what we call soft skills. I call them human skills. But what that does is we are data-driven people.
First of all, when you're looking at just simply job descriptions, is the job description, and this is a question that I asked like right from the get-go, the first question I asked when I do training is, pull out your job description and highlight all of the things on your job description that you are actually not doing. And then fill out all the things on your job description that you are doing, but it's not on there. And it's unbelievable how much the highlight's great because it's like a visual, like how much yellow is on there. So having a job description that actually embodies the position accurately and the person actually knowing what that is. Because if not, you have people that are confused, and we have a saying at PFU, confused people don't. When you are confused, people are not as productive, not as engaged, not going to go above and beyond, and they don't know really. There's a lack of trust because I don't know what's expected because this is a position that you shared with me, but it isn't accurate.
Right.
So would that be from a tactical standpoint, because we want to leave people with something tactical, would that be a place to start, is simply by having a question to your team is your job description, or do you feel your job description is accurate to what you're doing day in and day out? And if not, start to create a updated job description that is for the role they're in. Because I heard you say it's for the role, not necessarily for them specifically.
Correct.
Did I
That's
hear
very
that
important.
Which
Yep,
means
that's very important.
the job description is regardless of who's in the position. That means whoever gets in the position is now choosing and accepting the whatever the criteria and the duties that are in the position versus creating the position around a particular person, which if something happens to the person, all of a sudden the whole position changes because the next person comes in with different skills and all of that.
Here's what I would do. It takes a little bit broader, but I would step back just for a moment and look at your business and just say, what are the positions that are necessary for my business to function? And define the purpose. So name the purpose of that position for the business. It's quite interesting when you do this exercise. Then what you really want to start doing is looking at, because I'm actually going through right now the components for a PST, which is a position success tool, which replaces the job description. And then I'm abbreviating it a little bit because of our time, honestly. But then the next thing that you'll want to do is look at the 5 key responsibilities for that position. The 5 key responsibilities. That would mean, here's an example, documentation, schedule management, maybe communication. Then under each of those key responsibilities, you list all the tasks. This is where if you have a fairly decent job description, you can go to that job description and pull those tasks that define documentation. Then you have to include the other part of that. You have to include the behavioral component, which is part of the core value descriptive behavior piece.
So what I'm hearing you say, if I had to summarize what you're saying, especially around the 5 keys responsibilities, is what you're doing is developing expectations. We all want. Everybody wants clear expectations. I don't want surprises. I want to know what's required of me. I want to know objectively that if I'm doing a good job, and I never understood this, Judy, is like, I don't want to have to wait a year in some performance review, some archaic old school performance review that came from 100 years ago. Like, I should know how I'm doing because I'm clear on what the success criteria is.
Yes.
And I'm clear on what you expect from me. So I can go into Judy and say, Judy, I'm doing a great job. Not asking you if I'm doing a great job, because if I'm asking you, that means I don't know. And if I don't know, that's the opposite of empowerment. Empowered means I do know because you gave me all. Now, here's a point that I've seen where there's a problem, and I'd love you to touch on this. Owners sometimes have difficulty making decisions. What there is what is it that you want? What is it that's important? And making a decision and then putting it in writing for someone else. I know with the people that I've worked with over the years, they're afraid to make the decision, or they say they don't know what they want, but after a few digging in, they know what they want. But I think it comes with that fear of, well, what if they don't do it? Or what if they feel I'm being too, like, strict with them, and then they leave and I can't afford them to leave, or
Yep.
whatever that case is. Can you share a
Yep.
little bit on that fear, that worry, and perhaps what happens when they actually do this versus what they're fearful of, what happens when they make clear decisions and expectations?
Yeah, you're so right with this, Jamie. I mean, fear, for all the reasons that you gave, we've all experienced it. What I find that happens when these PSTs are created, and not just by the owner. So usually it's done by a collaborative effort, and everyone talks and designs and puts these together. Is the whole the culture, the mindset shifts for the owner when you talk about the decisions, and it shifts for the recipient, which is the employee. So what it does is it gives the business owner or the leader, whoever is in charge, gives them confidence to say, this is what this position is for this business, and whoever comes into this position is expected to abide by these variables here. And that you've got to include your core value descriptive behaviors, which we haven't even talked about, but that's the biggest part, keystone to culture from that standpoint. So you make it clear to yourself, and you're making it clear, then you can articulate it back to the employee. It breeds accountability, which is what owners want. They want their employers to be accountable. So if they know the employees to be accountable, so if they know what's expected, and they come into meetings, like Jamie was saying, they come into meetings sharing this document saying, here's what I feel like I've done for the last quarter. Here's where I feel like I'm missing out or missing. And you share perspectives and input. It changes the whole dynamics. But fear is a big part of what holds us back from making the decision, moving forward, because we leave things too nebulous.
Just with the stuff that Judy has talked about, what questions do you have? What can be clarified, or what specifically might you be dealing with that you can, you're not going to get a better expert than Judy right now. So let's get some free coaching. What questions or comments or thoughts do you have?
Because they're all part-time, and that's what happens. You certainly, once you establish your core values and the descriptive behaviors, which is a whole nother topic, but those people need to abide by that, whether they're full-time or part-time. So they're working in the business, they may be, 32 hours or half-time, whatever you've designated. And just because they have a different hour base doesn't mean they have they're allowed to misrepresent or not represent the values of the business.
So step one is, let's put the improved job descriptions, let's put that in place first. That would be step one. You have to do some of that thinking work that you talked about around the purpose and the responsibilities and the behaviors, ideal behaviors that you want. And then that is shared with them. Now, we may have a mindset that says, well, part-time people is part-time engagement, right? Like, they're not really engaged with the culture. And there might be examples of that perhaps being true, but I can't imagine, and Judy, you share with your experience, I can't imagine that's just a blanket statement of truth. Have you seen companies and practices that have part-time people that are actually engaged and part of this great team? And some of you might be looking for coaching, might be looking for help and guidance. A lot of what Judy's and I are doing right now, and this is kind of part of our culture at Practice Freedom U. And Judy is absolutely amazing coach. She's an amazing person that knows a lot more than just culture. And if that's something that you're interested in, reach out to us, reach out to me. We can have a conversation to see what's going on in your business, and happy to talk to you about some of the things that we offer. Judy, I just want to say thank you so much. I learned a ton.
Thank
so
you
much.
for inviting me. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate all you guys' questions. We could have gone on for hours, so. But have a great holiday too, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.